right. Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. For those who might be new to Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, we're all about bringing science, adventure, exploration, and conservation live into classrooms across North America and beyond. So we have a really amazing event from the field lined up today, but I do want to give a shout out to the groups that are starting to tune in live via YouTube. I know there's some classrooms who might have just jumped in and they might be looking for their camera spots. So if you're looking for a camera spot, please check your email. I just sent you a new link. You can come in and jump on and join us. All right. Well, today we're joining Stewart McPherson of the Darwin200 expedition and the Scottish Seabird Centre live from Bass Rock. So Stewart and a crew of scientists, videographers, and more have chartered the tall ship Pelican of London to circumnavigate the United Kingdom and explore the health of the waters around the UK. This is a pilot expedition for the larger Darwin200 in 2021, circumnavigating the world and following the famous journey of Charles Darwin aboard the Beagle. Now, before I turn things over to Stu and a very loud island of 150,000 plus northern gannets, I'm going to share a little introduction video.
Since the last Darwin200 live lecture on the Isle of Lewis, the Darwin200 ship has sailed around the north of Scotland and partway down the east coast. We sailed to Bass Rock, home to one of Europe's largest colonies of gannets. Our lecture today is in partnership with the Scottish Seabird Centre, who help protect the gannets here.
All right, well, here we go. We are going live to Bass Rock. Here comes Stewart, and here come the Seabirds. Hey, Stewart, how are you?
Welcome, everyone, to Bass Rock. It's home to over 150,000 gannets. I'll take you on a little tour to see some of them. It's very, very, very noisy, so I hope you'll forgive me. I have to shout a little bit, because you can barely hear yourself here. So hopefully you can hear me. Here's a bit of a tour. This island is absolutely key for the gannets. It's the world's largest colony of northern gannets anywhere in the world. As I say, there's over 150,000 of them here, all squawking and nesting and breeding. Could you guys see them okay then? Could you guys see them all okay?
Yep, absolutely.
Brilliant. So, all of these birds here use this island as a breeding location. They go out and roam for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. So even though this little island is just a pinprick of land, it's important for the entire region, because these little birds here have been recorded to fly as far away as Norway and all the way to North Africa. So from Scotland, that's thousands of kilometers. They're really amazing birds. Show you some of the differences. The white ones here are adults. These are adult birds here. If you can see a couple of the little fluffy ones, these are the very last ones of this season. So this one here you can see is a little bit still fluffy. He's getting ready to fledge and get ready to leave the island. The brown speckled ones are ready to leave. What happens is that when they're ready to fly, they jump off the cliffs. And the amazing thing is, they've never flown before in their entire lives. but they jump off. And often many of them land in the water and take a little while to get ready, then fly off. I'll just show you some of the differences. Sorry, that way around. So the white ones are the adults. These beautiful speckly ones are this year's offspring, ready to fly. And there's a few last little ones with their down. Here, you can see one here, getting ready to get his adult, well, nearly adult plumage, subadult plumage. The island itself has got a very interesting history. It's been used for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. There's a fort on it, like a castle, and it was even used as a prison. And believe it or not, these little birds, when you get close to them, they often regurgitate, as in to throw up, their food. And the people that lived on this island said that they could get all the fish they want by just walking through the colony and eating the fish that the birds regurgitate, which is a bit gross. The prison here was used for many years to lock up prisoners, but there's also a monastery, so a lot of historic ruins as well. I'll show you one behind me here. That's one of the old monasteries on the island. There's a big fort lower down too, but unfortunately the reception isn't quite good enough to go down there. The gannets here are really interesting. They've been increasing in numbers in the sense that, sorry, I'll just get that straight. They've been increasing in numbers. The island itself used to be covered with vegetation. As recently as 40, 50 years ago, it was covered in grass and covered in bushes. And the people that lived on the island used to farm here. But the gannets have increased in numbers on the island and pushed out all the vegetation. When they make their nest sites, they release ammonia, and that kills the plants. So these massive, massive cliffs that are now covered in gannets, just 30, 40 years ago, had grass on them. Here, I'll show you some here. If you look up, the air is absolutely filled with gannets. We've had quite a few near misses today. They've flown right over us, quite a few near misses. They've flown right over your heads. So you've got to watch out a little bit where you're looking. If you look down the cliffs, you can see some of the black ones, the speckled ones, are getting ready to jump. They're going near towards the cliff edge. And when they're ready, they'll jump off the cliff and fly for the very first time. We've been very lucky sailing around the UK. Our ship is out there, the Pelican of London, that's our ship, the Pelican of London, and this is just one of many spectacular bird sites that we've seen. But I said at the start, this is the most important island for these gannets. There's more here than any other breeding colony anywhere in the world for this particular species. All around this coast, there's other islands with different species, like puffins and other different species of seabirds. But for this one, this is where the gannets are they call home. Now, lots of the gannets have problems with plastic. There was a little bird down here a minute ago, which one of the rangers had to capture because it had plastic wrapped around its neck. So the rangers had to very carefully get a noose, put the noose over its neck and capture it and cut the plastic free. And if it hadn't been for that, the bird would definitely die. I've got a colleague here. Carrie? I've got a colleague here who's going to tell you a little bit more about the plastic we've seen so far on the Darwin200 voyage. So over to Carrie. Nice and loud.
Hello guys!
Loud.
So on our voyage we've been doing some beach cleans using forms like this. And we found all kinds of litter, but particularly plastic. So the litter we found on one beach alone, there was over 400 pieces of litter. And 90% of that was plastic. A lot of little bits of rope and also crisp packets, the sorts that you guys probably have in your packed lunches. And even just yesterday, we were doing a dive here at Bass Rock, and this is what we picked up on the dive. Little bits of rope and bits of plastic, just from one dive here. And I've only just got on this island, and already I found a straw that was in one of the nests. So there's plastic absolutely everywhere. So we've been trying to clean up as much as we can, while filling in these forms to send the data to the Marine Conservation Society to try and figure out which bits of plastic
Wonderful. So we're going to show you a little clip in a moment about plastics in marine environments. But just to explain the problem, these birds carry up seaweed from their nest sites to make their nests. And unfortunately, they often bring up plastic as well. I'll show you very carefully. I don't want to scare them. If you can look down at the ground, you can see they often have little accumulations of seaweed or other bits and pieces. Unfortunately, some of the plastic is brought in. It's okay, little one. Hello. They're a little bit mischievous because if you get close, they try and give you a bit of a peck. But we won't get too close. We'll stay a fair way back from them. Now, Joe, if you wouldn't mind playing the video about plastic from the Marine Conservation Society, it'll help explain the problem a little bit more.
Hello everyone, my name's Gemmell and I'm the Scotland Conservation Officer for the Marine Conservation Society. And we're a charity based in the UK and we've been working for over 30 years to recover, protect and celebrate our wonderful ocean and all the incredible creatures that call it home. So a big hello to everyone out on Bass Rock today with the Darwin200 team, and hello to all of you joining from all over the world into their live lecture. So for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to be talking about my work area, which is around marine plastics. So this is the plastic litter that's getting into our ocean and is impacting on our amazing sea creatures. So a lot of you may have noticed when you've been out walking, whether it's at the beach or swimming in the sea, or maybe even just walking in the park or walking down the street or just looking outside where you live, that litter is being dropped, especially lots of plastic litter. And to be honest, no matter where you live, if litter's getting dropped, it can work its way into the ocean. And this is really bad news for our sea creatures for two main reasons. One is that they can mistake it for food and they start to eat it, but they can't digest it, so their tummies just fill up with plastic, so they've got no more space to eat the food that they need to eat. Or they can get tangled up in it, so it means they can't swim, they can't fly, and they can't maybe get to where they need to go to either to eat or to breed. So here in Scotland, we've got some amazing volunteers who take part in our Beach Watch project, which is a community science project that anyone can do. And it's all about beach cleaning, but as well as cleaning the beach, they then write down how many of all the different litter items they're finding to send back to us. So they've been finding things like plastic bags, plastic crisp packets, plastic bottles, even things like plastic nappies. Ugh! Things that are getting flushed down the toilet can still end up in the sea, so we really need to make sure that everyone is disposing of these things properly. And that's what we do with the information. We then work out how many of these things are turning up on the beach, so we can work out how to stop them getting there in the first place. So for example, with our plastic bottles, we know how many were turning up, so we actually asked the Scottish Government to bring in a new law where they'll actually get reduced because people will get their money back for recycling them. So you might have this in the country where you are. Or for our plastic bags, you've now got to pay 5 pence to be able to use a plastic bag. And then since then, we've got loads of people just reusing their bags again and again. So all really good news for the ocean. Because did you know for some of these items, they can actually last a very long time in the sea. So they might not just hurt one creature, but lots of different creatures. For example, that nappy can last up to 500 years in the sea. Oh, can you imagine? Our plastic bottle could maybe even last up to 1,000. And even once it's all broken up and it's disappeared to what we can see, it hasn't actually disappeared completely. And some of the scientists on board will actually be looking at microplastics. So looking at these small bits of plastic through a microscope. So we've seen it's not just the big creatures like our whales, our dolphins, or even our seabirds. It's all the animals right at the bottom of the food chain called plankton that are starting to eat these bits of plastic. And they're working their way up the food chain. And hands up if you like to eat fish. So what does that mean? Not only is plastic impacting our ocean and our sea creatures, it could be impacting us, which is why all the work that the Darwin200 team are doing are so important. And what you can do is help spread the message and help everyone realise what they can do to help protect the ocean. So see if you can reduce the amount of plastic you use. If you use it, make sure you put it in the bin or recycle it, and then tell others to do the same so we can all work together to save the ocean. So enjoy the rest of the live lecture, everyone.
Conservation Society. I hope you enjoyed that. I just wanted to mention that the ground here is absolutely covered with feathers. All of the birds live about a foot or half a metre apart from each other. The surface of the rock is absolutely covered with birds, with feathers from the birds. Here's some examples here. It's almost like walking on a duvet, it's that many feathers. I'm now going to introduce you to the wonderful Maggie from the Scottish Seabird Centre that helps conserve this beautiful site and all of these gannets. So over to Maggie, really loud.
Hi there everybody, I hope you're all enjoying this. Well, here we are on the Bass Rock, it's incredible. But you know, we don't just have gannets here. At the height of breeding season, we have gillywots, razorbills, kittiwakes, gomer, and today trags, and we've also got little rock pipits that nest in some of the vegetation down by. So we kind of look at what's happening with our gannets. Gannets, it's been very important to protect the colony. Biosecurity is becoming one of these words we're all beginning to hear, and it's actually vital. We've heard about colonies around the world crashing because of some invasive species, whether it's rats or some vegetation. We've been working on an island close by here because of vegetation invasion. But for us, it's rats here because we wouldn't detect them until it was too late. So in the winter months, we put our bait boxes out to make sure there's nothing here, and we ask everybody that comes to the island to really check their bags, make sure what you are bringing on is just your sandwich and your flask and your camera. That's the most important thing. But there's other things with this here. The gannets here, I think a lot of people have forgotten, this used to be a food source. So when this was when the island was a haven for it was a place of religious retreat, it was also a fortress, and it was a prison. And they would eat the young gannets, not as many as this, because this was green here, there was grass growing, there were rabbits, there were sheep. But for the gannets that were eaten, they were taken across to the sandy beach that we can see in the distance here, and they were plucked first of all. And Stu was talking about the feathers. Well, the feathers were used, especially the down, the feathers were used for mattresses. And so that was, I mean, they must have smelled. They were probably not very nice to sleep on, but they were soft. So they plucked them, they then wrapped them in rhubarb leaves, and they roasted them in open outdoor ovens because it was really rather pungent, the odour. But that was such a delicacy. It slowly fell out of favour. And then there was actually a lot of shooting, it became a sport. And at the turn of the 19th century, the gannets just about died out because of this wanton, just how difficult is it to shoot a gannet? You've got a bird that's your wingspan. So then there was a preservation order put on, this was banned. And thankfully, as you can see now, the gannets are really quite protected, which is wonderful. And we must keep doing that. And the way we can do that, a lot of it, is protecting our oceans, protecting the food sources. Really being aware of what we're doing. I think that's the message coming through from so many. We're in charge of our planet, and we've got to try and protect it a little bit by what we personally do. Each one of us has a little bit of thought we've got to put into what we're doing. But have a fabulous day wherever you are in the world. I'm so happy.
Oh, thank you. So that was from Maggie from the Scottish Seabird Centre. Maggie's message about everyone doing their part really rings true, because today I saw her rescue one of those gannets that had the plastic around her neck. So all of us can do our little part, whether it's throwing rubbish in the bin and not letting it litter and leave around. We'll show you one last time around the gannets, then we'll open up for questions either to Maggie or to Kerry or to myself. So I'll just take you around a little bit. One of the points here is it's so noisy. I'm not sure if you're picking that up on the microphone or not, but there is so much noise with all these gannets. So I'm going to have to put my headphones in just to hear you. Yeah. And remember, this is just one tiny bit of Bass Rock. It is massive. The number of gannets here is absolutely incredible. There are so many of them. Over 150,000 birds. So I better just get my headphones and we'll open it up for any questions to Kerry, to Maggie or myself. So over to you, Joe, for any questions.
All right, Stu, let's do a quick test here. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely loud and clear.
Perfect. All right. Well, first of all, Stu, thank you to you and everyone who joined us today. That was absolutely incredible. It looks like you're in an amazing spot. So thank you so much for broadcasting live to us.
It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
So I want to give a few... Go ahead, Stu. No, go ahead.
Well, I forgot to say one little thing. I just wanted to mention how lucky we are. So our friends at the Scottish Seabird Centre here have said that for the last 2 months, no one has been able to land here because of the weather. So we are so lucky to be able to beam live to you. It's a beautiful sunny day, and for the last 2 months, no one has been able to come here, including even the Scottish Seabird Centre. So we're very lucky. So a big thanks to our friends here.
All right, very cool. Well, we did get lucky that today is the day we chose. That's pretty amazing. I do want to give a shout out. We have tons and tons tuning in via YouTube Live right now. So I want to give a shout out to a few groups. We've got groups joining us in India. We've got groups joining us. SHS Scientific Research classes joining us. Groups in St. Catharines, Ontario. 7th and 8th graders in New Jersey. We've got someone in Kuala Lumpur hanging out with us right now.
That's great.
Massachusetts. It goes on and on. Mr. Patrick's 8th graders in London, Ontario. And then we've got some in the UK and Scotland. So North Berwick, Angus, Fife. So we've got a great group joining us here today. So I didn't get everybody, but that was just a little bit of a start. For those tuning in live via YouTube, send your questions in. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and we'll work some questions in. And then we have some groups who are joining us live today as well. But I do want to say, Stuart, that Mom and Sophie are tuning in, and they're wishing you good luck. They're excited to be watching.
Oh, sorry. Oh, thank you very much. That's lovely to know. Very glad. I hope they enjoy it.
All right. Very cool. Well, I'm going to start with one question that came in here via YouTube. And this question, they want to know about the smell. What's the smell like on the island?
Okay, what's the smell like on the island? Who would like to answer that? Really loud.
It's pungent.
It's pungent. How would you describe it, Kerry?
Very fishy.
I think that's a very good description. It's very fishy. All of these birds gobble up fish and bring them back to their babies and sometimes miss. So there's lots of dead fish. And yeah, it's definitely smelly. Believe it or not, we came in on our boat yesterday. I'll just try and find it, sorry. So it's surprisingly hard actually when you're doing this behind you. There we go. That's our boat there. We came in yesterday, about this time yesterday, and could smell the island from over a mile away. We could honestly smell it on the wind. So it's a very smelly place, but a lovely place. And a place that reminds you of wildlife. So smelly in all the best ways. So I hope that answered that question.
All right, I think so, absolutely. So I'm going to bring our first classroom into the call here. Let me load them up. There we go. So we've got Seven Oaks Prep School joining us from Kent in the United Kingdom. How are we doing, boys and girls?
Prep School.
Good, thank you.
Hello. Hello, right, children. How are you?
Oh,
Hey guys, the camera.
All right, I'm going to bring up nice and full screen. Do you guys have a question for Stuart?
Yes.
So, has the plastic in Bass Rock largely increased the yearly death rate of gannets?
Has the plastic decreased the survival rate?
Yes. No, increased. Yes.
Well, that should probably be a question. Oh, increased. Has the plastic increased the survival rates? Impacted the survival rates of gannets?
It's difficult to answer for gannets because at times if they die out at sea, we don't see that. But what we do know at times with other seabirds that we're doing necropsies on when we do that, we open up the belly and we're finding plastic in them. And I think that's an indicator. Gannets are quite deep diving birds, and where they tend to dive is when they get trapped in netting when they dive in, as the one we feed today. But I think you see it in all marine life, where we've seen whales the most appalling garbage inside them. They've opened them up and they've had everything from plastic sheeting that cover fields to just half mattresses. And these birds are the marine life, they think they're full, they think they've eaten, but they're actually, they starve to death, and that is rubbish in our ocean. That's what's really wrong.
Yeah. So that was a really good point. So just imagine every time you throw something out, you've got to be so careful with the rubbish where it goes, ideally recycling, because even rubbish thrown out on land can end up into the ocean. So we've got to be so careful with that in the years to come ahead. Got to be so careful with the rubbish. And the worst thing is, many, as you heard in the talk from the Marine Conservation Society, some of the rubbish can last for decades. So it can kill not even just one animal, but many animals, again and again and again. So yeah, that's a very good question. Well done for thinking about that. Yeah.
All right. Mrs. Jaganathan's class joining us here in Ontario in Canada. They're wondering, how long does the breeding season extend? And then does the island get quieter when the breeding season ends?
That is a very good question. How long does the breeding season last, and does it become quieter in the non-breeding season?
Yes. If you came here in January, the rock is empty, completely empty, and all you see are rows of craters where the gannets nest. It's a bit like a moon crater, just rows upon rows upon rows, and that's when you see how close the birds nest together. They arrive back and start to take to their sites about March. Usually we see the first egg in the middle of April. And as we've seen today, we've got chicks ranging from about 6 weeks to 12, 13 weeks. So they've still got another 6 weeks of the season to go. And I would think that the rock will start to empty down because the gugas, which are the young gannets we're seeing today, they will leave. But the adults will stay on the site because gannets are territorial. So they want to keep the site in case another bird takes it. And I've come back here in March when the rock's been empty, bar 2 gannets, and I've seen them fighting over the territory, which is just, that's gannets. But it's a good question. It's about 12, 13 weeks for the chick to fledge from the time of hatching, and it's about 42 to 44 days for the egg to be incubated. So it's a long season. It's one of the longest breeding seasons for our seabirds, for our European seabirds.
Isn't that interesting? And isn't it a lovely name, Guga, for the young gannets? I think that's such a lovely name. It's from a name here used up in Scotland. Isn't that a beautiful name for them? So we'll show you some more Gugas in a second. Any other questions at all?
Absolutely. I'm going to bring another class in with us. This is Miss Michael's group. So she's representing her grade 4s from Glenview, Illinois. How are we doing today?
We're great, and I'm going to get Ben to ask his question. Ben, be real loud, okay?
Hello, Ben.
Why do they like that island so much? Why is it so popular?
That is a very good question. Well, why do they like the island so much? Why is it this island?
That's a fabulous question. Gannets have been reported here since about the 6th or 7th century. They're colonial birds, so they attract each other. But the most important sites for a gannet are the cliffs. And what you've got in the Bass Rock, they are sheer cliffs. This island was a prison. And when you lock the gate down at the bottom there is no way off because it is sheer cliff. So the gannets come in, take to the sites on the cliff edges, and when they're young fledged, you just spread your wings and you catch the wind. Whereas when they're in the centre of the colony here, they have to walk all the way through the colony. They can be attacked by the other gannets, and in that sense, it's not so good. But because we've got so many gannets here that are captured, this is the prime site. And importantly, it's on the coast of the North Sea, so we've got good fishing. But what gannets do often is they will push out other birds. So we've seen them push out the guillemots from some of the nesting areas, And at times, if you hear a colony going, we've seen gannets sitting on our island, and people go, oh, you might well lose your island to all of the gannets. So it's a good question. The Bass Rock is full. Where are they going to go next? What's the space?
And also, perhaps they like it because there's no predators, no rodents. There's no other animals that can eat them. Imagine if this was on the mainland and there was a dog or a cat here. Just imagine what would happen. The poor old gannets, I don't think, would last very long. So this is quite a special island. And as Maggie was saying earlier, that's why the conservationists are working so hard to keep the island rodent-free, free of rats and mice and other animals and predators. So for all those different reasons. But that's a very, very good question. Are there any other questions at all?
Absolutely. Let's grab another one from the YouTube audience. This one's from Liz, and she's wondering about the island. How protected is it? Can tourists go and visit with their boat, or do you need special permission to land on the island?
That's another good question. Well, I think that's one also for our friend Maggie. How protected? Oh, here, both of you. Okay, together. How protected is the island? Can tourists and other people just rock up here, or how protected is it?
The island is actually privately owned, and as I said, it's a prison.
Yes.
So there is a gate down at the bottom here that is locked. People can, if you have a little boat, you can land in the lower area, but it's also a crime to disturb wildlife. And the Seabird Centre has their cameras here, so we can at times see who's landing. And it's very visual around, so it's not, we don't really want people landing here, because if you disturb the birds, you lose them, and that is a crime. That's why we protect our island. So you have to get special permission. There's special permission today from the Seabird Centre and from Sophie, the family that own the island, and it's what a privilege it is to be here.
That's also why we're so very lucky to be here. It's not just the fact that we've got lovely weather, but it's our wonderful friends at the Seabird Centre and Sir Hugh Dalrymple allowing us to come here. So an enormous thanks to all of them, and without that permission, we wouldn't be here. So I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. I'm going to bring another class into the call here. So we've got Mrs. joining us. She is representing her students from St. Catherine's grade 6s.
Okay.
How are you doing today?
We're great. We actually represent 5 elementary schools in the District School Board of Niagara in Ontario. So we're virtual.
Wow.
So that's pretty great. One of the questions we have is, how is the ecosystem affected by so many birds coming in at one time?
Oh, that's a very, very interesting question. How is the ecosystem affected by so many birds coming in? For example, the marine ecosystem near the island, offshore.
That is an interesting question. I think, Debbie, I don't know, you know in your marine science.
Yeah.
Certainly from our dive yesterday, there was a good layer of guano in the water, which affected the visibility to start with. As we got deeper, that cleared away though, so the guano, the fertilizer basically in the oceans, has been moved with the currents, which is spreading it around the area, so I think it's a slightly more diffuse issue. But one thing we did notice is that there's so many lobsters down there. I think around here there's less fishing going on, so the lobsters are nice and safe. So as we can see, there's loads of gannets all on the rocks here. But under the water, there was lobsters that were sat on all the little nooks and crannies instead of gannets.
Isn't that amazing to think about? Underneath the waves, it's not like here with gannets, but lots of lobsters. Kerry, as she said, went diving yesterday and showed us all some lovely photos, and she saw some really big ones. So isn't that amazing to think about? The lobsters underwater replacing the gannets above water.
All right, let's bring Seven Oaks Prep School back in and see if they have another question.
Okay.
Hey, boys and girls.
Seven Oaks School. Okay. Hello, children.
Hello. What is the area of the island?
Hello.
What's the area of the island?
Did you catch that, Stu? They're wondering what the area is. How big is the island?
Anyone at Seven Oaks? Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Sorry.
Hello.
Try it again, Harry.
And what's the area of the island?
Could you repeat the question, Joe?
Yeah, I'll relay it for you, Stu. They're wondering about the size of the island. What's the area of the island?
Okay. What is the size of the island?
The island's about 7 hectares in area. It's about a mile in circumference, and its height is about 120 metres at its highest point of the cliff. And it's about 340 million years old. It's a giant volcanic plug. So yes, it used to be green and had a lot of vegetation. Sheep grazed here, there were rabbits, there's a walled garden where crops grew. But the gannet numbers increased, and this is what happens when you have a colony of this size. It is ammonia rich here, and that is killing off a lot of the vegetation.
Yeah. So 7 hectares in size. That's a small island, but imagine 150,000 birds in 7 hectares. That's quite a concentrated population.
All
Any
right,
other questions?
Yeah, let's bring Miss Michael back in. Do your students have another question?
They sure do. I have Emma who has a real quick one,
Oh, sure.
and then Henry who had more of a question, who had a bigger question. Emma, why don't you start?
Okay. How big are the adult birds?
How big are the adults?
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear the question.
Okay, let me try, Stu. They're wondering about the size of the adults. How big do they get?
How big are the adults?
They have a wingspan of just about 2 metres, just under 2 metres lengthwise. Oh, you've got me there. That's just...
Would you say about 45 centimetres? So 1.5 foot? Yeah. Yeah.
Can you take that bill in
Yes.
and the webs stick out at the back?
Yes.
And they weigh about 9-10 pounds, about 4 or 5 kilos.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're a big, strong bird.
Yeah.
And that neck is very, because they have air sacs in their neck. And one thing you can't do is ever strangle a gannet. When you pick up a gannet, you pick it by the throat. Then you don't go down because it pulls your eyes out, but you take it by the throat underneath the knee. And that way it isolates it, because if it grabs your fingers, you know all about it.
Right. Have you been bitten by a gannet, Maggie?
Yes. Several times. Yes.
What happened?
I probably came off worse, to be honest.
Oh.
Generally, you have to know how to pick them up, and you have seriously got to be careful. But when I was learning this, I took a little bit of learning. When you're trying to free one finger, you don't put the other hand in as well, because you'll get both your hands, and then you're defenseless.
Right, yes, I can imagine. Yes. I hope that answered the question. I hope that helped answer the question a bit. They have incredibly sharp beaks, and as we've walked up Bass Rock today, we've all got a few pecks. So they're very ferocious little beaks. They're lovely little animals. So yeah, you have to watch out for them. Well, I'll just have a quick look at them here. If you look carefully, you can see them. Can you see their beaks, children?
Yeah, they look nice and long and sharp.
Yeah. So hope that's nice to see them. Any other questions at all?
Yeah, Miss Michael had a follow-up.
Yes, Henry had a question about the expedition. Henry, real loud.
Why did you want to follow Darwin's steps?
Why did you want to follow Darwin's steps?
Would there be any other questions at all?
Yeah, Stu, they're asking why you wanted to follow Charles Darwin's steps. Why are you organizing the Darwin200?
Hang on, Would there be any other questions?
Yeah, can you still hear me, Stu? All right, I think we might be getting a little bit of a delay. Maybe that's why he's having trouble hearing us. Stu, can you still hear me? Stu, any luck? Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Can you hear me, Stu?
why do we? Well, that is a very good question as well. So the reason why we're trying to organise the Darwin200 project is to actually create the next generation of conservation leaders. You can see our ship out there behind us, all the way up there. We want to take a ship. Oh, sorry. Bit of a lag. I'll log out and come back in again. 1 second. Sorry, I'll log out and come back in. Hang on.
Okay, so we'll give Stu a moment to come back in and join us. But as you can see, they're in a pretty remote location. So it's amazing that the signal's held out this good for us for so long. We've gotten this amazing clear image. So we'll give Stu a second to pop back in. I'd like to get Ms. McLaughlin's class in one more time. And then we'll let them get on with their adventure and maybe, I don't know, we'll see how much longer they're going to be on the island today. But I can only imagine what the smell and the sound are like. They've been there since several hours. We had a test call maybe 3-4 hours ago. So they've been on the island for a long time. So I imagine by the end of the day, they're going to enjoy a little bit of quiet time on the ship. All right, so let's just wait another moment or two for Stu to come back in and join us. We'll squeak in one more question, and then we'll give them a big goodbye and thank you for joining us today. While we do wait for Stu to come back in and join us, I'm going to share a few little things here, how you can follow along. So here I just put up a banner. If you want to follow the UK circumnavigation, there's the website here where you can head over to the website, and then they've been creating all kinds of video content, amazing video content from all the places that they've been visiting along the way for probably close to a month now on this circumnavigation. So definitely check out the website, check out some of those videos under the Live from the Ship section, and you can find out all kinds of information about the upcoming expedition in 2021, where they will be following that famous expedition of Charles Darwin and the Beagle. So pretty awesome. And definitely a site worth bookmarking for future events. So let's see. It may be that our luck has just run out for today. Again, remote location. We've had a really good signal for the majority of the call, but it seemed like right there at the end with those last couple of questions, the lag was just catching up with us. But I see Stu just came back in. Let's see how we're doing.
I'm back in.
Hey, Stu.
Sorry about that, Joe.
Oh, that's okay, Stu. I was just telling the group you're in a remote location, so the fact that the signal's been this clear for this long is pretty awesome.
Sorry, Joe. We're back here again now.
All right. Can you hear me okay now?
Well, I think the connection is unfortunately dying.
Yeah. Yeah, so Stu,
I think unfortunately the connection's dying a little bit. I'm sorry about that, but I hope you've all really enjoyed seeing.
All right, Stu. Well, if you can still hear me, we want to give you a huge shout out. Thank you so much to you and the scientists.
We thoroughly look.
Okay, I think we lost him again. I think we just slipped in under the radar there, because if this was happening, say, 40 minutes ago, I don't think we would have had an event. So, I do want to start with a huge shout out to Stewart and all the team from the Darwin200 who have made our couple live events from the field possible. They've been a ton of fun. And I do want to direct your attention to our website and the Darwin200 website, because when they get back to London in a little bit of time, we're going to do some special lectures from the Pelican in London. So you won't want to miss that. There's going to be some special guests, and all that will be announced shortly. And we've got Stu one more time. Stu, I think if you can hear me, maybe just, thank you so much for today. And it was a blast to host you from Bass Rock.
Sorry.
All right, Stewart, just saying thank you so much for today. Thank you to the team. It was awesome.
Absolute pleasure. I'm sorry that the connection died. We're in quite a remote area, so sorry about that. I'll show you the gannets one last time, but lovely to speak to you and see you all again soon. Lovely to speak to you, and from all of the gannets and all of our friends at the Scottish Seabird Centre, we send you our very, very best. Take care, everyone, and have a nice day at school. See you soon.